On an ordinary day on a train, a man suddenly burst into flames and exploded, immediately turning the train station into a disaster scene. A young man with red eyes witnessed the entire process, watching as the man transformed into a demon and stepped off the train car. The young man immediately assumed a fighting stance, his legs bursting into flames, ready to end the suffering creature's life. At that moment, the fire brigade appeared. They shared the same target, the man who had transformed into a demon. Among the team was a nun who began to pray. Another soldier quickly fired special ammunition to extinguish the flames, temporarily reducing the heat. Another member immediately rushed in, but the monster managed to launch an attack. Fortunately, the last team member blocked it, creating an opportunity for his comrade to move in and use a core-breaking stake to eliminate the monster. Finally, the nun's prayer ended. The sudden battle caused the large chandelier in the station to malfunction. In that moment, the red-eyed boy utilized his power, moving with flash-like speed, just in time to grab the nun and save her when the chandelier fell. After everything was over, the boy surprisingly introduced himself as a new recruit of the Special Fire Force Company 8, bearing the nickname Devil's Footprints. He also mentioned that he had a habit of smiling when in tense situation. Hearing this, Captain Obai immediately approached to intimidate him, but the boy smiled right in his face, making Obai find him both strange and interesting. The boy said he wanted to become a firefighter to be a hero, but given the profession's reliance on teamwork, this statement was immediately corrected by Commander Tekisa, who suggested that the boy's tainted past and terrible reputation couldn't be hidden, and if he was using the firefighter title to make up for his criminal label, it was truly a mistake. These words immediately wiped the smile from the boy's face. Fortunately, the nun he had saved spoke up to thank him, allowing the female firefighter Maki to tease them as a couple, making the beginning of his journey not entirely terrible. As firefighters, everyone never knows when a mission might suddenly arrive. Incidents of human combustion like that are called first-generation spontaneous human combustion, when victims lose their reasoning, become frenzied, and destroy everything. Only when their cores are destroyed do they stop. The Special Fire Force has the duty to put these unfortunate infernals to rest and protect the people. Afterward, they must investigate the mystery behind all these events. In this situation, the young man Shinra carries the dream of becoming a hero because of a promise to his late mother that he would protect her. But his fate has been tragically difficult. When the alarm sounds, it's his first deployment. Shinra is filled with fighting spirit, but the flames in the factory ahead are extremely fierce, as infernals typically ignite to protect what they value most. The image reminds him of his mother, and his mood immediately fluctuates. But thankfully his teammates show timely concern, since special firefighters never abandon their comrades, helping him overcome his fear. Maki, a second-generation pyrokinetic, moves forward, using her power to quickly clear the path and draw all the flames out. However, an unexpected explosion occurs, throwing Shinra back and seriously injuring him. In his delirium, he sees the image of his mother engulfed in flames. She screams for him to run away. Yet people believed he was the cause of his mother and brother's deaths. However, the truth is he didn't cause that death, because at that moment he realized something else existed in the fire besides his mother and brother, which made him vow to find the culprit. His strange smile originates from the countless curses his relatives heaped upon him, from the terrifying memory of that day. In his unconsciousness, he unexpectedly sees blue light and hears someone calling his name. When he opens his eyes, he discovers Commander Tekisa and the whole team standing in front of another infernal. Finally, Shinra, nicknamed Devil's Footprints, is assigned the task of finishing the infernal with a single strike. This infernal, according to reports, is extremely powerful, charging forward and making Tekisa's firepower merely an irritation rather than causing damage. When it gets close, it launches a powerful attack, quickly defeating Shinra, then continuing to rush at Obai, fierce red flames erupting. Fortunately, Maki manages to neutralize all its power, while Obai uses his modified fire axe to push back. Just as the infernal separates from Maki and prepares to unleash power for the next attack, that moment of hesitation is exactly the opportunity Shinra has been waiting for. He once failed to keep his promise to protect his mother, and now is the time to fulfill that promise in another way, to prove that he is not a devil but a hero. Shinra's power erupts fiercely, surpassing the infernal before him. As the nun's prayer sounds, Shinra immediately rushes forward with lightning speed, delivering a tremendous kick directly to the infernal's core, making everyone marvel at how formidable third-generation power truly is. Afterward, the whole team recites a prayer of farewell, a humane ritual from special firefighters for these unfortunate, pitiful infernals. The husband of the combustion victim bursts into tears and clasps Shinra's hand in gratitude, the surrounding people also applauding and cheering for the heroic fire soldiers. A truly wonderful moment, exactly what Shinra had always hoped for. He had taken his first step on the journey to fulfill the promise to his mother. In the world, there are many causes of death like old age, weakness, disease, but in this era, the cause of death that makes people most fearful is burning to death. A blonde-haired young man stands in front of a church, which will be his next workplace. Captain Obai then informed Shinra about the rookie fire soldier competition that he and another rookie who just joined today will participate in. This information makes Shinra anxious, because such an event could potentially expose his not-so-pleasant past to other companies, leading to unwanted complications. That worry soon becomes reality when his opponent in the competition turns out to be Arthur, an old acquaintance. The two never got along, so just looking at each other made them irritated enough to want to fight. And after a brief exchange of words, they indeed started to combat. While Shinra is a third-generation pyrokinetic with the ability to ignite flames from his body, Maki, another team member who is second generation, must ignite flames herself before she can use them. However, her ability to control flames is extremely skillful, making even those with natural combustion abilities cautious. A loud sound occurs, and the two childish new soldiers appear in fighting positions. Arthur appears in a showy stance. In front of the beautiful Maki, he calls himself the Night King, also a third-generation pyrokinetic, then addresses Maki as the princess of the castle. The boy's boastful attitude makes anyone witnessing it shake their head in exasperation. Arthur and Shinra come from the same training school, both excellent students, so they're always comparing with each other in every little thing. Just questions about who's cooler, a knight or a hero, is enough to make them fight until they're bruised. However, in front of Commander Takasa, all hostility must be set aside, or at least cannot erupt indiscriminately. He uses the pretext that the upcoming competition needs preparation, so he requests Maki to teach the two immature boys a lesson. Despite her reluctance, Maki is forced to agree to the commander's order, inwardly screaming in distress. The match begins with Shinra's entrance, but before he can ignite, he quickly receives a full blow, or when he just manages to ignite his legs, the flames are immediately extinguished by Maki, and finally, he's thrown mercilessly from the rooftop, resulting in a miserable defeat against the beautiful sister. Fortunately, he wasn't injured as he managed to break in time. Maki wins too easily, making Shinra sweat profusely. Refusing to submit, Arthur confidently steps up with his electric sword, which he calls by the fancy name Excalibur, confident that his electronic flames cannot be extinguished. However, against Maki's superior martial arts, he has no chance to resist, continuously being beaten until his nose swells up. Initially, the boy called this beautiful sister a princess, but now has changed to calling her a goblin, deeply hurting Maki's heart, but also creating an opportunity for Arthur to counterattack, with even Shinra joining in to collaborate. Nevertheless, their plan is ruined from the start, as Maki not only extinguishes their flames, but turns them into harmless toys. At this level, the nickname Witch of Fire is completely deserved for her. When Obai puts out Maki's fire play, she can only tearfully throw a tantrum, looking so fierce yet being so adorable. Arthur's presence has significantly increased Company 8's overall strength, and soon they receive a new mission. This time, the location is a densely populated residential area, so controlling the flames becomes more urgent than ever. The victim is a little girl, whose mother had previously undergone combustion, and now it's her father's turn. With the responsibility of firefighters, Obai requires the team to resolve it gently, while reminding the two third-generation pyrokinetics not to show off their weapons. Although the Academy never taught this, it's something that comes from conscience. There are those who treat fighting victims as entertainment, which is unacceptable. Shinra understands that a true hero must care about the feelings of those left behind. If he ignores that, he doesn't deserve to be called a firefighter. This mission carries an abnormality, as behind the tragedy is a hidden hand. Someone who released a powder that makes flames surge fiercely, as if carrying life. When the team confronts the father who has turned into an infernal, they see he isn't destroying anything but silently gazing at family memories. A rare behavior in first-generation infernals. This makes taking action difficult, but the fact that first-generation infernals no longer have reasoning has been proven, and Arthur decides to release him to end his suffering. That mission turns out to be more arduous and exhausting than any other. In the thick dust, continuous explosions echo, and the house is on the verge of collapse. Obai resolutely stays behind, as he recognizes there's someone behind all this, someone he vows never to forgive. Nevertheless, the victim's important mementos have been protected intact. When everything is over, the victim's daughter is still trembling in fear, afraid that she'll also burn to death like her father and mother. Obai comes to comfort the little girl, saying that her father fought the flames very bravely and won, that his departure was to protect her, and he also affirms that he did everything he could. After this tragic scene, Shinra also carries psychological wounds. He has been so traumatized that even when sleeping, he worries about looking up at the ceiling. Surprisingly, the one who reaches out to comfort him is none other than Arthur, who is called the demon-slaying knight, who has always been his competitor. Arthur just gently comforts him, saying that even if he considers Shinra a devil, he will still be gentle with him, because he is a knight who will help everyone. The current situation of the world is very tense. The world is gradually falling apart. In many places, fierce flames have taken everything, causing geographical chaos for the continents. Many countries that once existed are no more. There are very few places where people can live peacefully outside of Tokyo. So people have migrated to this almost intact Tokyo, where there is a holy church and abundant energy resources along with superior technology. That powder substance is actually created by a man with an abnormal psychology. He designed it with the purpose of targeting Company 8. He gave this to his accomplices to cause chaotic incidents, thereby drawing the attention of the entire unit. For Company 8, everyone understands this is a special collective, as they are led by Obai, a former firefighter who was awarded 2 medals, but later had both revoked because during a mission he chose to save people rather than adhere to rigid rules. That event made Company 8 different because it was built on the strength of spirit and character of the commander. In this unit, the most noted person after Obai is Shinra. He is currently participating in the Rookie Fire Soldier competition. When he sees someone who once saved him in the past, he immediately goes to greet them. However, what happened 12 years ago is something that Firefighter doesn't want to recall. Tamaki quickly intervenes, preventing Shinra from bothering the captain, resulting in her being punished, revealing Shinra's true face with a somewhat perverted personality. He continues persistently searching for the captain of Company 1, but the answer he gives is convincing. With so many cases handled annually, it's impossible to remember clearly what the boy wants to ask. The competition begins. All participating fire soldiers must enter a building, rescue victims, and defeat simulated infernals. In terms of speed, Shinra, with his devil's feet, quickly gains an absolute advantage, rushing straight up using his flying ability. But a surprise occurs when right inside that building, he encounters a mysterious figure, someone deliberately sabotaging the competition just to dialogue with him about the fire incident 12 years ago. He recalls the day Shinra's mother and brother died, and Shinra himself became a devil. The attitude of that person is not friendly at all, making Shinra immediately decide to prioritize saving people. But his lack of response angers the man, who intends to massacre all the victims in the building. In that situation, Shinra erupts with power and lunges up to fight. However, against the barrage of attacks, he struggles to counter effectively. The mysterious figure shows interest when mentioning that if Shinra wants to know the truth about 12 years ago, he must prove his capability. He uses a strange substance that explodes powerfully upon contact, sending Shinra flying. Despite good fighting instincts, compared to the opponent's rich experience, he is still at a disadvantage. The battle makes Shinra go crazy wanting to fight, but the other's weapons are too dangerous, forcing him to continuously retreat. The opponent doesn't treat this as an ordinary game, but a life or death match. Shinra is finally defeated. The stranger thinks the battle was too easy and intends to finish him. At that moment, the devil's killing intent in Shinra erupts, his smile causing the enemy to change his mind, even revealing a shocking secret that Shinra's brother is still alive. This information astonishes him, immediately questioning that if so, where is his brother now? Because when the fire occurred, everyone believed he had burned completely, even his bones. The mysterious figure even raises suspicions that the fire soldiers may be hiding many truths. Shinra states he doesn't believe his words, but the fact that his power erupts out of control clearly reveals his fluctuation. He doesn't understand why the other party is saying these things, what the real conspiracy is. The mystery person seems to be trying to lure him to his side, saying he should abandon the game of being a hero and instead become a devil to search for the truth. For Shinra, this is completely unacceptable, as this person has harmed 2 fire soldiers and clearly must be subdued and turned in. He risks himself to counterattack, using power in anger, creating varied and fierce attacks. However, the experience of the mystery man still overwhelms him, causing Shinra to quickly lose strength. Meanwhile, Arthur and Tamaki, also participating in the competition, heard the commotion and ran over. Shinra hurriedly reports that there's an intruder, requesting Arthur to immediately inform the captain. But the knight suspiciously thinks Shinra is making it up to steal credit, and swings his sword to charge. Arthur's skills and Tamaki's firepower still can't shake the person, even when he releases the dangerous dust. Fortunately, Shinra saves them just in time. The mysterious man only mocks that if he wants to be a hero, then try to save everyone. Then he releases all of his explosive material, leaving a message that he will always welcome Shinra to join. Understanding the danger level, Shinra urges his teammates to quickly save people. In that situation, Arthur is forced to cooperate seriously, and Tamaki also gives her all. All 3 join forces under Shinra's power explosion, lifting all 4 people straight up into the sky. An extremely strong explosion sounds, but everyone has escaped danger. The captain of Company 1 quickly comes to assist, while Company 8 below prepares to receive their comrades. Everything ends safely. Afterward, Tamaki and her captain come to thank Shinra for saving them, his contribution deservedly acknowledged. However, the harmony between this captain and Obai is not very good. Shinra later reported the entire incident, noting that the powder the mystery man used was identical to the substance causing the previous explosion. He also shares his doubts when the stranger said that fire soldiers don't actually operate as people think. Obai frankly explains that fire soldiers are not a unified organization, but formed by 4 forces: the Holy Sol Temple, the Tokyo Armed Forces, the Fire Defense Agency, and the Heijima Financial Group. Each organization has different levels of influence on each company. The mission of rescuing people from combustion phenomena is indeed correct, but the investigation of causes doesn't involve information sharing, as each organization has its own calculations. Therefore, Company 8's goal is clear. They belong to the Fire Defense Agency. Their mission is to save civilians, conduct investigations, and absolutely not trust other companies. Only in this way can they hope to grasp the truth about the origin of the combustion phenomenon and the nature of infernals. Knowing this, many people will be saved. After hearing this, Shinra feels proud and confident that he will contribute to all these tasks. Obai responds with pride, affirming that having Shinra in Company 8 is wonderful. The Imperial Tokyo Papal Hall is alerting citizens about a danger zone, requiring everyone to keep a safe distance. In the main control room, a sexy woman sits high on a chair made by firefighters themselves. She arrogantly commands that everything must be according to her wishes. Others have no right to speak up. She stands up, walking on the bodies of others. She orders Company 5 to deploy, even if it means trampling over Company 8. The screen displays a notification that a subject is approaching Shinra, number 3 of Company 8. According to information gathered, Joker's appearance in the competition was carefully concealed by various firefighting forces, presumably because he holds too many secrets that make everyone cautious. According to Obai, Shinra will definitely discover the secret behind human spontaneous combustion and the reason his mother and brother had to pass away. However, no one can deny that the person named Joker is actually a villain. Another firefighter interrupts them, reporting that they've analyzed the series of destructive acts at the training facility by Joker. The explosive he created contains ashes of first-generation infernals. Exploiting the pain and misfortune of those unfortunate victims to serve his own purposes is truly an unforgivable, inhumane act. At this time, the nun is in the church, her hand holding a childhood photograph with her friends. Then, she puts the photo inside her clothes, smiling to encourage herself. Meanwhile, Company 8, as an organization under the Fire Defense Agency, besides their specialized missions, also handles other daily tasks, from processing paperwork to helping citizens in unexpected situations. Today they received a request to rescue a dog that was stuck. Ironically, that dog is the mascot of the firefighters, and it being hung upside down on a tree branch turns out to be an excessive prank by a group of young people. They did this to express their anger, because previously a firefighter had cruelly killed 4 civilians, but was then declared innocent by the court due to mental illness. This legal loophole was exploited by him, making the public even more resentful. And his name is Miyamoto. In the midst of this, suddenly the smell of burning smoke spreads and red flames erupt. People discover that Miyamoto has undergone combustion. Contrary to many people's belief that this is divine punishment, the truth shows he still retained his will after transformation. That will is the madness of a killing maniac, causing the crowd to panic and flee. Miyamoto doesn't hesitate to torture the very lawyer who defended him, making the situation even more chaotic. Information is immediately sent to the fire companies. Many want to participate in the capture because they consider him a subject of special research value. Company 8 is quickly mobilized, with Arthur and Shinra receiving urgent orders. With Shinra's flying ability, both move extremely fast, arriving before their other teammates. Upon meeting Miyamoto, they immediately take action. Arthur launches an attack and continues to push him into a difficult position, coordinating with Shinra to attack continuously. However, the defense power of the transformed person is truly formidable. He loudly claims that firefighters are just killers wearing the cloak of saviors, no different from what he used to be. One of his punches disperses the power that Maki had concentrated, making both increasingly recognize the difference of a first-generation infernal who still retains will. Facing Company 8, Miyamoto both shoots fire to attack and looks for an escape route, while saying that fire soldiers killing infernals is just like when he used to kill humans. Those words make Shinra momentarily hesitate. Fortunately, he is encouraged by Taikisa, maintaining his will without falling into the mental trap. Shinra immediately rushes forward, understanding that if not stopped, there will be more victims. Indeed, when Miyamoto appears in a crowded residential area, preparing to spread disaster, Shinra quickly arrives, delivering a powerful kick that sends him flying. The opponent doesn't falter, using a car to counterattack. But that move doesn't trouble Shinra, who kicks the car away and turns it into a counterattack, terrifying Miyamoto. Unexpected rain pours down. Miyamoto fearfully calls Shinra a devil. Shinra stands on top of the car, high and mighty, calling himself a hero. This display catches the eye of a mysterious couple, who assess that the energy emanating from Shinra is truly formidable, but still think that eliminating an infernal who still has consciousness would be too wasteful, so they decide to find a way to retrieve him. Meanwhile, Shinra begins to pray for Miyamoto, and even Miyamoto himself asks to atone in his final moments, and he wants a sister to pray for him. But immediately after, he unexpectedly betrays, lunging to attack. This action causes Shinra to explode with genuine anger. A piece of trash doesn't deserve salvation, so he is determined to finish his opponent. At this moment, a woman appears on the rooftop, introducing herself as Princess Hibana, the captain of Company 5 and also a third-generation pyrokinetic. She declares that Company 5 will take over handling Miyamoto. Shinra naturally opposes, but her gaze causes him to collapse. She orders him to submit at her feet. He of course doesn't accept, even speaking carelessly, causing him to be immediately suppressed. Company 5 tries to take him away, but Shinra timely erupts with power, pushing back all the regular team members, while challenging everyone in a stance of facing all alone. Fortunately, Company 8 also appears in time. Hibana declares that Company 5 will take over Miyamoto because they consider purifying him a waste. Such a rare specimen should be kept for research. However, the territory currently falls under Company 8's jurisdiction. Moreover, they don't have a research department to do that work. Members of Company 8 argue, saying that even if they research anything, Company 5 would never share. The argument becomes tense, to the point where Obai is forced to back down and agree to hand over. But that attitude is despised by the opponent. Immediately, Obai responds with his fist, forcing Hibana to confront, asking if they really want to start a war. Obai asserts that he's conceding for the common benefit of humanity, but if it comes to fighting, Company 8 is not afraid. Hearing this, the opponent becomes uneasy and decides to withdraw, temporarily postponing the confrontation. The nun is praying by the fountain, in her head reminiscing about childhood memories. She used to run after a sister, chattering stories to that sister. And that sister is now the current captain of Company 5. Afterward, the entire church took a group photo together. Thinking about this, she sheds tears and calls Hibana her sister. Shinra, who happens to be jogging by, witnesses this scene. He shyly stands pressed against the wall. Seeing the nun walking out, he hurriedly apologizes to her. She also smiles kindly, saying it's because she was being inattentive. She encourages Shinra to continue training. That said, she asks permission to leave. Shinra calls after her, worriedly asking about what's troubling her, because helping others is also a duty of fire soldiers. However, she just smiles, saying she's fine, and then leaves. After returning, Obai doesn't need to mention the shadiness of Company 5 anymore, as everyone already understands the situation. From now on, the group's main task is to investigate and monitor those people. When listening to Obai's analysis, Shinra, who already knows part of it, appears somewhat distracted, while Arthur is only concerned with demonstrating his strength. Seeing the cheerful atmosphere, Maki and the nun also begin private conversations. All four aren't focusing on the lecture. That attitude makes Takesa coldly draw his gun, pointing it directly at everyone as if warning them. Because this is a team meeting, he doesn't allow anyone to have private conversations. Initially, everyone thinks he's just joking, but the sound of a shot and a bullet flying past makes the team panic. Fortunately, thanks to the ability to control explosive propellant of a second-generation pyrokinetic, the damage from the shot isn't great. Shinra only feels pain but isn't seriously injured, though still enough to make him sweat in fear. He thought it was just an air gun, but Takesa confirms it's real. Since Commander Takesa is a second-generation pyrokinetic, he can control flames, manipulating the force when firing the gun to not cause fatalities. This is Takesa's lesson that when facing later-generation pyrokinetics, no one can predict what will happen. Everyone needs to train and be more vigilant. Shinra, though angry, also understands his teammates' intention, while his indignation toward Company 5 increases, especially regarding how Hibana treats firefighting like a game and relies on illegal experiments to climb to the position of captain. Obai emphasizes that besides investigating, they must find ways to seize Hibana's research achievements, even using force if necessary, because the future combat power of Shinra and Arthur will play a key role. Indeed, those cruel research methods make even those who have become monsters unable to bear it. On this side, she is brutally torturing the prisoner Miyamoto, captured the day before, to force him to reveal information. Hibana behaves no differently than an addict finding pleasure in torture, which infuriates everyone in Company 8. Sister Iris is a special case, as this profession seems to exist only in Company 8. Since meeting Company 5, her attitude has changed noticeably, causing Shinra to care and want to find out why. Maki appears with news that Iris has left. She is now standing outside Company 5's gate requesting to see the captain, speaking out against those experiments as an insult to the divine. Those words anger Hibana, who immediately becomes furious and erupts with power, making Iris's clothes tear, looking very pitiful. Iris is both frightened and uses persuasive words to resist. In her panic, she even calls Hibana sister, revealing that perhaps the past between the two has a special connection. However, Hibana despises the nun profession, believing that deities don't exist, and nuns are just like mobile vases for fire soldiers. To her, deities don't exist. This world only belongs to those carrying the blood of demons. Eventually, Iris is knocked down, taken into Company 5's base, and turned into a tool to trap Company 8. A violent explosion sounds outside, breaking the quiet space, and Shinra appears with determination to rescue Iris at all costs. The entire Company 8 team immediately arrives. Obai assigns Takesa to quickly infiltrate inside to find Iris, while he and Maki will deal with the forces outside. Shinra doesn't hesitate to rush into action. Meanwhile, Takesa with his special gun shoots down each soldier blocking the way. Arthur rushes forward to finish off those who haven't fallen yet. Their coordination is almost perfect. Although Company 5 soldiers also have guns, they are completely at a disadvantage against Takesa's enhanced firepower. Not just guns, his martial arts skills are also superior, combined with flexible bullet control, causing all enemies to be swept clean. Arthur quickly follows Shinra deep into the base, but before they can regroup, they encounter a deformed old man, who used research results to increase Miyamoto's strength, making him no different than a monster. Meanwhile, Takesa's group is attacked by a new soldier from Company 5, who uses rubber balls that can explode with tremendous power. Fortunately, Maki manages to block them, but the situation is still extremely dangerous. The continuous explosions make it difficult for them to locate the enemy. Takesa is forced to use a sweeping tactic, adjusting the bullet trajectory based on the reflecting sparks upon collision, turning the bullet into a weapon with almost permanent motive power. Thanks to this, the enemy is defeated. He intends to interrogate to find where documents are stored, but a more dangerous opponent has appeared. Arthur at that time has to face the enhanced Miyamoto, whose continuous barrage of attacks overwhelms him. Though successfully dodging, when hearing him insult the dream of being a knight, Arthur can't contain his anger and charges forward, falling into a trap and taking a dangerous hit. Just as Miyamoto is about to finish him, Arthur surprisingly switches his sword from left hand to right and delivers a fatal blow, cutting the opponent in half. The strength hidden all this time is revealed, surprising even Hibana. Her 3 loyal subordinates are also successively defeated, giving way to a new battle between the two sides. While Takisa and Maki take the opportunity to search for documents, Shinra's eyes are directed straight at the target he has longed to confront. Shinra enters inside Hibana's mansion, believing it's where Hibana resides, and today is the opportunity for Shinra to challenge a captain-level opponent to test his own strength. However, in his heart, he understands that if he can't find a way to counter the special move the opponent once demonstrated, the chance of victory is almost non-existent. The story between Hibana and Iris has also gradually been revealed, making the atmosphere even heavier. It's difficult to understand why Hibana still believes that deities are false, especially when she herself, along with the nuns, was once burned by flames. Fortunately, thanks to her 3rd-generation abilities, she survived. But from then on, she embarked on a path of brutal depravity with no way out. When Shinra appears, Iris immediately advises him to retreat, because more than anyone, she's the one who understands Hibana's terrifying power. Indeed, in just a moment when Shinra erupts with flames to charge forward, those eerie eyes immediately extinguish everything, even causing him to be hypnotized and immobilized, mercilessly trampled upon, unable to understand why he failed so quickly. Hibana doesn't hesitate to explain that he has fallen into a state of heat syncope, as the tremendous amount of heat she emits has enveloped his body, causing blood vessels to dilate, blood pressure to drop, and insufficient blood flow to the brain, resulting in dizziness and collapse. A hero who seemed so strong is now defeated just by dizziness. This truth is like a shameful stain weighing on Shinra's pride. He strains himself to stand up, telling himself that if this isn't an excessively powerful ability, then he can endure those negative effects, because a hero's courage doesn't allow him to fall. He declares himself a hero and boldly challenges once more. The flame on Hibana's fan flares up fiercely, while Shinra, having regained his strength, asserts that he will dispel all misconceptions and delusions of his opponent. He declares that he may die, may fall, but will definitely not be wrong. However, in this combat, Hibana's ferocity and superior power cause Shinra to fail once again. She coldly questions whether he doesn't realize he's just struggling, and to prove her point, she performs fire magic that materializes flames into petals with tremendous temperature, making Shinra flustered and lose all ability to resist. Iris painfully advises him to stop, but in response, Hibana mocks that if he wants that, then try praying to deities, because deities inherently cannot help or control anything. In this world, deities don't exist, heroes don't exist, and people only find peace when they abandon the illusion of salvation. Painful memories flood back into Hibana's mind. The monastery was once a shelter for orphans, where nuns and children united in worshipping deities, but she was different. Ironically, she was the only one to survive while all those she considered family died in the flames. From then on, she believed that only she could save herself, and vague prayers only led to destruction. Hearing this, Shinra expresses empathy because he too has witnessed his life being ravaged by flames. But this sympathy only makes Hibana more frenzied, and she strikes more violently. However, Shinra erupts with extraordinary power, successfully resisting and stating that he is different from Hibana. He never surrenders to fate, and thus he will save her too. These seemingly foolish words momentarily astonish Hibana, but her moment of weakness quickly disappears. She coldly says that if he wants that, then accept burning to death. Shinra again insists that not all flames bring destruction. Some flames will light the path ahead. If there are no heroes in the world, then he will become a hero, and Hibana, after all, is just a victim. He shouts with determination, then bravely charges forward, throwing a punch with the desire to shatter the obsession in her soul. That image pulls Hibana back to childhood memories, to the day when she was a talented child in experiments, creating brilliant flowers from flames and other substances, making children in the monastery marvel in admiration, among whom Iris was the one who loved them most. However, the nuns scolded her, believing that the divine flame was not for fun, asking why, if Hibana truly had been granted power, she didn't believe in the Holy Spirit. She once believed, but that belief completely collapsed when those very beautiful flames destroyed everything, leaving in her only hatred and darkness, turning her into a true demon. From then on, Hibana acted like a truly fallen person, taking advantage of every opportunity to research and enhance flames, climbing to higher positions without caring about the ultimate purpose. Nevertheless, deep down, she was once a hero, once the elder sister of the children in the monastery. It was the flame that helped her achieve that, but it also took everything away, both humanity and meaning in life. In the moment of empathizing with Shinra's fate, she realizes that she too is just a victim, and that understanding opens a key to liberation. When Shinra affirms that there are truly heroes in this world and he will be by her side when she needs him, Hibana inadvertently blushes, both angry and ashamed, exclaiming who gave him permission to save her. He responds that he doesn't need that permission. He does it because he wants to. Before such sincerity, Hibana's heart is moved. She no longer wants to continue the fight, even creating brilliant fire flowers like before to give to her little sister, and her soul seems to bloom once again. The battle ends with injuries on both sides. Iris suggests organizing a social party between the two companies, while Hibana pretends that inviting Company 8 to attack was just for training, and her unexpectedly pleasant attitude surprises everyone. Hibana blushes, saying perhaps she likes Shinra a bit, causing him and Iris standing there to be shocked and dumbfounded. Shinra ended the battle so quickly that another teammate couldn't arrive in time to support and had to stay home. A group of commanders from other companies have gathered together at the church. News about the training exercise between Companies 5 and 8 has quickly spread throughout other units, but instead of believing it, they think it's just a smoke screen meant to hide something. At this point, they've truly realized that Master Obai has begun taking action, and his moves carry many layers of unpredictable meaning. Meanwhile, Companies 5 and 8 are holding a barbecue party to celebrate the success of their recent combat training. But it seems the soldiers of Hibana aren't very happy. They fear they're about to be tortured by the witch with her new entertainment. This whole cooperation ultimately depends on Hibana's boy craziness, as she only seems easygoing and gentle with Shinra, while her subordinates, if they happen to have contrary opinions, might get kicked right on the spot. But overall, the party is going very well. After the party, under the sunset, Hibana had a direct conversation with Obai, and a deal was quickly formed between them. However, what's worth noting is that this collaborative handshake doesn't represent the entire organization of Company 5, but stops at the individual level. On the surface, Company 5 appears to be a separate company, but behind Hibana is the Heijima Group, a force that even she doesn't have enough power to resist. Therefore, this cooperation serves both as a bridge and as a screen for both sides to exploit each other's benefits. Obai plans to start by sharing Company 5's research achievements and then overthrowing them. Hibana has also shared about her past. She thought she had to become a demon to fight against demons, but then, when fighting with Shinra, who calls himself a hero, she recognized the warmth of justice, and thus, thanks to the power of love, she reformed. Obai also had to admit that Shinra is the one who brought light to Company 8, also bringing light to the darkness of this world imprisoned by flames. Obai begins to change the subject to the goal of Company 8. He has been paying attention to Company 5's research on the origin of flames. He believes Hibana knows something. The usefulness of the alliance is almost immediately demonstrated when Hibana is willing to share her most important research findings. She reveals that in some cases, the combustion phenomenon isn't natural, but has human hands involved. This information makes Obai unable to maintain his calm. He finds it hard to accept that the suffering of so many victims comes from deliberate human conspiracy. Because of this, he decides to remove the shackles from Shinra as a gesture of trust. As for Hibana, she begins to suspect that the accident at the monastery years ago, which destroyed all her loved ones, perhaps wasn't simply an accident, but quite possibly the result of a setup. If that hypothesis is true, she will certainly never forgive those behind it. For a common goal, she and Obai slapped hands in cooperation, albeit somewhat reluctantly. However, the next direction of investigation is extremely difficult, because the artificial combustion cases that Hibana mentioned all originate from Shinjuku District, a place that is under the direct management of Company 1. Obai understands that direct confrontation would be very difficult, but he decides to use a roundabout approach. He utilizes the rookie inspection system, allowing some newly joined fire soldiers to be transferred to work at other companies, seeing this as a way to plant people to access the truth. The main responsibility this time is given to Shinra and Arthur, who have the strength to face all dangers. The two, along with 3 members from other companies, quickly head to the prestigious base of Company 1, a place considered the majestic symbol of the entire organization. They not only carry the mission of finding evidence, but also directly face Burns, the famous commander, who could also help them access the truth about Shinra's family tragedy 12 years ago. Seemingly not wanting to waste time, Shinra surprisingly proposes a practice duel right upon meeting. That idea sounds aggressive at first, but as new soldiers, this is also the most practical way to say hello, even including other young fire soldiers for the challenge. The opening match begins with a contest from a fire soldier from Company 2, who is inherently shy but thanks to the provocation and encouragement from teammates, erupted with hidden power. Cannon shots are fired fiercely, but all are neutralized by Karam, who only needs one bell ring to completely extinguish the opponent's flames and weapons. His ability to freeze fire is truly too terrifying, making everyone shudder. It is at that moment that the spirit and power of Company 1 is clearly revealed, creating pressure that weighs on all those facing them. Not stopping there, Burns, the legendary commander, surprisingly steps forward personally to face them. And his target is both Arthur and Shinra. This makes Arthur feel insulted. He angrily thinks he can perfectly fight a separate match, but Burns just calmly extends his arm in invitation. Arthur's first sword strike comes down powerfully, yet it's not enough to make him budge. On the contrary, a light counterattack has sent him back a dozen steps, astonished to stupefaction. During this time, Shinra doesn't hesitate. He treats being challenged as inevitable, immediately rushing forward persistently, launching a combo of punches that makes the entire stadium shake. He doesn't hesitate to use his strongest move, but Burns calmly uses his own body to block, without even a flinch. When asked why he joined the fire force, Shinra firmly answered that his mother and brother died due to spontaneous combustion, so he must find the cause, to prevent that tragedy from repeating with anyone. He wants to become a firefighting hero, although he knows this path is still very long. That answer seems to please Burns, but he immediately throws a punch, not even needing to use the power of fire yet sending Shinra flying. However, contrary to initial fears, both he and Arthur are recognized by Company 1, welcomed as worthy warriors, and that is a sign showing they have begun to be acknowledged for their abilities. Right at this moment, Tamaki has also rushed to hug a member of Company 1, putting on a very cute, obedient face. In the fog of the city, someone stands in a phone booth, reporting that the evangelization is going well. The spontaneous combustion will proceed without any obstacles. The person on the other end praises him, calling him an evangelist. During the research process, the experimental results that Hibana obtained revealed a shocking truth, that the cores of artificially induced combustion victims all contain a mysterious creature, which is an insect. This makes Shinra's group shudder because no one has ever thought about the possibility that some force would use living creatures as tools to spread disaster. The time limit for Shinra and Arthur to investigate Company 1 is only 1 month, and they must find clues leading to the combustion infernals within that month. But contrary to this urgency, Takisa and Hibana, using the excuse of visiting, appear at the barracks every day, acting leisurely as if not caring about gathering evidence, making everyone wonder how they actually want to investigate. Strangely, though, Company 1 seems to neither care nor prevent this. If it were at Hibana's Company 5, people wouldn't welcome outsiders so warmly. The next clues reveal the possibility that the culprit is right among the fire soldiers, as the combustion incidents always occur in secret places that only fire soldiers can access or at sealed crime scenes. Shinra and Arthur are sitting eating with everyone. They discuss reasons for becoming firefighters. Shinra dreams of being a hero saving the world. Arthur because he imagines himself a knight. And this light blonde-haired friend simply wants to be admired by girls. The other timid friend sitting beside them thinks everyone is so wonderful because he doesn't have any talent or grand goals. Tamaki comes over, interrupting the conversation, saying it's time for assembly, the alarm signaling the appearance of an infernal sounds. The opportunity for Shinra to act comes when he's deployed under Commander Flam's orders. This time, Company 1's forces are mobilized in extremely large numbers, as they have to deal with a mass combustion incident. 5 victims simultaneously make the situation chaotic. But with so many people, Arthur and Shinra are only assigned to stand guard, a boring task that makes it difficult for them to access the truth. Right at that moment, Shinra suddenly senses a strange energy source. He witnesses firsthand a man being infected with insects by a mysterious figure and immediately turning into a combustion human. This is a rare opportunity. He doesn't hesitate to chase after the perpetrator, leaving the victim to Company 1's forces. The pursuit leads him to the end of a road, but instead of catching the suspect, Shinra only sees senior members of Company 1 standing imposingly. Arthur immediately gets hot-headed, wanting to rush into battle, but Shinra stops him in time because he recognizes the danger. Without evidence, acting in a narrow alley would be like pushing themselves into a situation where they could be silenced. Tamaki is also present. She reports that thanks to the two commanders, all the victims have been peacefully laid to rest. The image of this innocent, sweet girl makes Shinra can't help but doubt, wondering if it's possible for someone like her to aid in such brutal crimes. The only harvest this time is that both of them have witnessed firsthand how victims are harmed. Though meager, it's enough for them to determine they must directly investigate the two commanders. That determination leads Shinra and Arthur to check Karam's room. They discover a bottle containing insects identical to the specimens they've seen before. But at that moment Karam appears, his face exuding a threat that makes the atmosphere thicken. In an instant, both kids thought this time they would meet their end. But Karam calmly explains that he's also following the case, and he placed the bottle under the table because the attitude of the two kids from the time in the alley was very strange. That bottle is a sample collected from the scene. This explanation somewhat reduces the tension, but suspicion has not yet dissipated, because besides Karam, when Shinra was pursuing, only Rekka was there. Karam recounts that 2 months ago, there was a group of children who all abnormally combusted. It was there he found this type of insect, and the fact that innocent children were not spared is the cruelest evidence of the perpetrator's evil. In another development, 2 children on their way home innocently discussing games when Tamaki appears. She promises there's a sure way they'll never become victims, then lures the 2 children to follow her. Those words actually come from Rekka's instructions. He poses as a kind person, playing the role of an evangelist spreading false hope. Tamaki, out of trust, agrees to go along. She wants to witness firsthand the miracle he promises. But as soon as they enter the abandoned house, she's invited by Rekka to step aside so he can do his work. Out of curiosity about how the evangelization would take place, she gets hugged by him so tightly that she faints. Afterward, tragedy begins when the children's mother, worried for her kids, follows them, becoming the first victim to be invaded by insects and die tragically, while Arthur and Shinra secretly coordinate with Karam to find a way to save the sobbing children. Rekka's words resound like an eerie music. He encourages the children to bravely face the flames, saying that as long as they're not afraid, they'll overcome, but it's all cruel boasting. Tamaki awakes in shock. She's devastated to realize the commander she once admired is a disguised psychopath. When she resists, she's immediately brutally beaten. He declares he won't stop until he finds the guide. In his eyes, this is a sacred mission. In desperation, Tamaki can only watch the next child about to be turned into an experimental subject. The helplessness makes her scream, but that hopeless cry for help accidentally helps Shinra locate the hiding place. Rekka is delighted to see the flames gradually die down while the child survives. He asserts he's found the guide, excited to the point of wanting to expand the experiment on many other children, seeing it as evidence for the path he's chosen. Tamaki desperately cries, condemning his insanity, which angers Rekka. He punishes her with brutal blows, scolding that she's hindering the children from stepping into glory. Just as he raises his hand to finish her off, a blinding light descends from above. Shinra arrives like thunder. His straight kick to the face sends Rekka deep into the floor. Tamaki is saved. She breaks down sobbing as never before, both from pain and from relief at escaping the nightmare. Rekka was once a hero in Tamaki's heart. During a mission with a combustion infernal, she always ran after him and looked at him with admiring eyes. Rekka was always reckless, and Rekka claimed that he could be so daring because Karam was behind him. And Rekka always smiled brightly. Tamaki greatly admired the 3 of them. She thought they looked so cool because they always supported each other. However, the commander she always trusted now brutally abuses her. Fortunately, at the most critical moment, Shinra came diving down from the sky to save her, making her cry with tears streaming down her face. The shock that Tamaki had to endure today was truly too great, making her realize just how wonderful it is to still be alive. However, while everyone was still stunned, Rekka had struggled to his feet and immediately counterattacked. The punch he threw was extremely powerful, the speed incredibly fast, making it difficult for the person facing him to maneuver. Fortunately, in battle, Shinra had already defeated a captain. That valuable experience helped him react in time to quickly counter. His continuous kicks proved clearly effective. In close combat, he even managed to lock Rekka's hands, controlling the flames erupting from him. Afterward, Shinra solemnly declared that he, a hero, had caught the criminal causing combustion. But the situation immediately reversed. Rekka fiercely countered, insisting that he would never run away but could only move forward, then launched extremely heavy blows. Shinra cannot accept that blind way of advancing. He will become a superhero to stop Rekka. The two sides battle equally. Surprisingly, Shinra's flame causes that demon insect to react unusually. Rekka realizes it's trying to return to that flame, which proves Shinra is the important guiding target that the cult has been seeking all along, a flame that he says will guide humanity. Rekka immediately decides to capture this unfinished flame, as it is the purest flame for which countless children have been sacrificed in pursuit. Hearing this, Shinra becomes extremely furious, especially when Rekka coldly claims that those sacrificed children were just trash for him to complete his criminal objective. Anger makes him lose his composure. He rushes in to attack, but is immediately knocked back, falling into Tamaki's soft chest. She screams, calling him a pervert. In contrast, Rekka, due to his determination, strikes even more powerfully, causing Shinra to continuously suffer. During this time, Tamaki is also someone who needs to be rescued, as she repeatedly finds herself in awkward situations. Victim Tamaki seems not to be experiencing this tragicomic situation for the first time. Then she clings to his back, begging him to defeat Commander Rekka. The statement makes Shinra wake up. Anger gives way to seriousness. He carefully analyzes the strengths and weaknesses between himself and the enemy, deciding to use the terrain to gain advantage through mobility. Rekka has poured out all his power, while Shinra is like a rocket shooting upward, immediately changing direction after collision, skillfully dodging, and then finding opportunities for decisive counterattacks. Rekka's subsequent attacks are completely ineffective, as he doesn't have the ability to fly like Shinra, falling into a passive position. Finally, Shinra launches a full-force strike, causing a sky-shaking explosion, defeating Rekka, but also overheating himself due to consuming too much oxygen. Seeing the children still frightened, Tamaki tells them to gather and hide behind the house pillars. Rekka still wants to continue fighting for the evangelist, with the goal of finding suitable children, increasing the number of infernals, and bringing humans back to the flame, which is no different than pushing humanity into a pit of fire. The evangelist has distorted the will of the Holy Spirit, turning it into a mad ideal that the entire world needs to be submerged in redemptive fire, turning the earth into a second sun, regardless of everyone's death. Seeing the situation not good, Tamaki reluctantly leads the children to run away. Rekka, when repeating those words, even appears joyful, somewhat insane. He says he will teach all soon-to-be-born children the cult's lesson. This makes Shinra immediately think of his own little brother, wondering if this might be the answer to the puzzles all along. Just then, Rekka once more erupts with power, even burning his own life to gain victory. But surprisingly, the echoing sound of a bell rises. Karam appears just in time, freezing the madman who was once a close friend. As Karam once said, he would always be behind Rekka. Another commander is also present, realizing this situation could affect the entire country. Suddenly, a beam of light rushes forward, shattering the ice, piercing through Rekka. He is silenced before he can reveal anything. The ones responsible for this are two mysterious assassins on the rooftop of the adjacent building. The mysterious assassins continue to attack, having considered fire soldiers as enemies from the beginning. A commander, in order to save Karam, even gets his arm shot off, because he considers Karam the shield of Company 1. Shinra quickly creates smoke to block visibility, determining the target's location. Karam immediately directs Tamaki to counterattack. Her flame strikes across, gets frozen by Karam, creating the feeling of clearing the way for teammates. Knowing their advantage is lost, the assassins simultaneously retreat, which is also what Karam wants since everyone on the team is seriously injured, making it difficult to continue fighting. If they chase after them now, they'll overheat and die. Although not strong enough to pursue, Shinra's target is clear, the evangelist. The tattered Tamaki is lent Karam's jacket to wear temporarily. She will be disciplined for bringing the children to this place. After all, Karam still wonders why the passionate Rekka of years past turned into such a villain, or if he was like that from the beginning. But even so, they were still friends. The investigation of Company 8 also shows results. The next target is the cult, where Karam wants to join hands to avenge the fallen friend. After this event, a series of other incidents occur. Company 1 is swamped with reports, forcing them to cancel rookie training. Arthur goes missing while tracking Rekka, forcing them to urgently search for him. Shinra, at that time, feels like he's returning home. Surprisingly, at Company 8, Tamaki also appears. Due to her heavy involvement in the recent incident, she's temporarily suspended from Company 1 and recruited by Company 8. Shinra shyly asks for her contact number, while she, also embarrassed, presses her chest against his face. At this moment, Arthur is in a strange place. In a church, the priest is sitting at the highest position. He orders the captains to be gathered. Today, Captain Obai's cabinet has again been messed with by someone playing a prank. He angrily runs to the dining room to accuse Shinra, but this time Shinra is completely innocent. Hibana lovingly reminds Obai that Shinra is eating the love lunch she prepared, so Obai is not allowed to disturb him. This time, Hibana wants Obai to attend the captain's meeting of all companies with her. She also takes the opportunity to bring cakes to Shinra, using the excuse that she can't eat them all. The power of love is truly wonderful. Obai demands Shinra to handle this troublesome woman, but now Shinra only cares about the delicious food. Seeing his soldier being lured, Obai has to tempt him with a bowl of ramen. Arthur appears from somewhere demanding to join. Clearly this guy was missing before. Tamaki also comes to join the group. Sensing this little troublemaker is about to cause trouble again, Shinra cries out warning everyone, but it's too late. Tamaki's skirt somehow suddenly slips down, and she crashes right into Shinra. Obai turns to Maki seeking help, but Maki is busy chatting with her girlfriends. The office looks very chaotic, with no one standing on Obai's side. The meeting calling together all companies is then organized, and right from the start, it shows the seriousness of this incident, because artificial combustion, the white-robed assassin organization, along with that mysterious evil cult all appear simultaneously. They are not merely isolated threats, but seem like pieces gradually revealing a giant secret curtain about the combustion disaster, something humanity has never truly understood until now. And now everyone is being pushed into a position of having to face it directly, with no other retreat. Tamaki is taken along with Shinra to report, as the two are important witnesses. This meeting doesn't take place at a normal location, but is organized at the most important place of the entire Sun Empire, which is the Eternal Energy Plant, a gigantic structure capable of providing energy for the entire Tokyo capital. The choice of this place further shows the vital nature of the discussion, because if something happens here, the entire country will fall into chaos. Right there, the Heijima group also takes the opportunity to send a warning to Hibana that she has become too close to Company 8, implying that if she continues like this, she may face unpredictable troubles. Afterward, all captains of the 8 companies are successively granted an audience with the Emperor of the Tokyo Empire, the monarch who leads the entire nation. He clearly states that there is currently an organization operating covertly, and it has directly threatened the safety of the entire country. So all companies need to act in the name of Sol, the sun god. This call, originally meant to unite, immediately faces public mockery from Benimaru, known as the strongest fire soldier currently. He doesn't revere deities, even showing a disrespectful attitude right in front of the emperor, which is extremely impolite for the imperial army. However, Benimaru calmly states that his company is originally gathered from lower-class civilians. They have never sworn allegiance to the emperor, nor knelt before Sol, the sun god. So Company 7 will act according to its own will without obeying anyone else. Fortunately, the other companies still maintain a more serious attitude and no one shows rebellion like Benimaru. Right then, the emperor calls out Shinra's name, directly asking about the pure flame that he possesses, a flame considered the first ray of light that Sol, the sun god, used to create the world, and also the energy that has helped the Amaterasu plant operate for many years. The captain of Company 1 stands up to add that the evangelist is currently trying every way to seize those pure flames, so his real goal isn't just destruction but absolute power, and thus Shinra will certainly become a hunted target. The emperor emphasizes that the empire will protect him, but Shinra immediately objects, because for him, the real mission of a fire soldier is to protect civilians, not to receive protection. Moreover, he doesn't trust that captain with hidden ulterior motives, something Hibana immediately astutely notices. Obai then declares he will protect his teammate at all costs. His prestige is so great that even the emperor cannot take it lightly. Arthur, upon returning, also becomes Shinra's most compatible companion, but unlike him, Arthur seems to consider being targeted by the evangelist a stroke of luck, like an opportunity to prove himself. Unexpectedly, Joker actually appears. He doesn't fight, but instead brings shocking news. He says that the pure flame not only has the ability to create the world, but is also the root that can destroy everything. And as a reward for Shinra's efforts, he reveals that his younger brother, Sho, currently holds the position of Fire Knight Commander and serves directly under the Evangelist. This information hits Shinra hard, shocking him to the point where he doesn't even notice Joker leaving, only faintly hearing the saying that a devil forever can only belong in hell. After that meeting, the mission to find the Evangelist officially begins. Company 8 starts reviewing all data on fire incidents to find clues, and as for Shinra, he has no other choice but to prepare mentally to confront his own brother, because if Sho has truly gone astray, then stopping him is also the only way for Shinra to keep his promise to his mother from years ago. During a meal with his teammates, Shinra finally confesses everything he knows. Although the information from Joker isn't absolutely reliable, Obai directly asks him if he wants to believe his brother is still alive, and Shinra firmly asserts that of course he does. Because of this, both Obai and Taikisa declare they will adjust their action strategy based on that foundation, which makes Shinra feel incredibly warm, as he knows he's no longer alone on the difficult road ahead. At another mysterious place, Shinra's long-lost younger brother, Sho, is sitting higher than everyone else. The report about incidents related to the white-robed gang just discovered has been presented by Obai to everyone. This was Company 8's first case, right after Maki and the sister joined. Hearing this, Shinra wondered about the reason for Company 8's establishment. Even the sister had never heard of this case. Taikisa and Obai glanced at each other, and after passing the buck back and forth, they decided to tell the truth to the youngsters. In year 195, at the Tokyo Imperial Armed Forces base, there were stories that left deep impressions in many people's memories. Maki and Taikisa both came from this place, where discipline and fierce combat were considered the way of life. Maki is from a prominent family, the daughter of a general. Although she looked thin and weak, she always tried twice as hard as others. Taikisa saw her as just a young lady hiding behind her father, too kind-hearted to become a soldier, and he thought this girl was just making useless efforts. The friend beside him scolded Taikisa for always judging others, looking like an extremely cute girl. Then the friend said he would go to the church to baptize his gun, and invited Taikisa to come along. Taikisa thought it was useless, and he didn't believe in deities. Whether baptized or not, a gun is always a thing for killing. Although Taikisa looked rigid and cold, that friend had realized he was actually very kind, like how he was cleaning up the food tray after meals for him. However, tragedy struck Taikisa when his best and only friend unfortunately fell into a state of combustion. In his final moments, while still maintaining some self-control, he earnestly asked Taikisa to finish him off to avoid prolonged suffering and prevent himself from losing control and harming others. But Taikisa couldn't bring himself to harm his friend. His trembling hands could only helplessly watch as his friend was consumed by the barrage of bullets that other fire soldiers fired to end him. Taikisa was confused. He should have followed reason and shot him, but he couldn't do it. The only thing left was the baptized gun, a memento containing suffering mixed with regret. And later someone said that perhaps any victim shot with that gun would pass away more peacefully. Taikisa changed the ownership name of that gun to his own and carried it with him. During those days, Obai was still just an ordinary firefighter. However, he and Taikisa witnessed the painful truth that many prestigious fire soldiers in the system only saw solving the combustion disaster as a way to score points, as an achievement to reach, rather than for the victim's pain or the peace of their loved one. The people who were praised didn't truly fight out of kindness, which left a great disappointment in Obai. From then on, he and Taikisa decided to join forces. They didn't care about points or rewards, and they would be disciplined because they had no right to enter there. But the only thing they both wanted to do was to deal with infernals so those unfortunate souls could rest in peace. Taikisa had talked about how he had pointed a gun at his best friend the day before, but couldn't take action against him. Although not a worshipper of Saul, Obai couldn't shoot his close friend with an unbaptized gun. They opened the door and entered the room, discovering an infernal. Taikisa pointed his gun at him, while Obai prayed beside him, and so the two defeated that one. Going outside, they complimented each other as brave people, and thus Obai decided to establish a fire force company. He couldn't watch innocent people burn to death, and he wanted to recruit Taikisa. It was precisely these actions of exceeding authority that caused Obai's contributions to be completely stripped away, his medals to be removed, and Taikisa to face even heavier consequences, being expelled from the army. However, from that loss, they sowed a new beginning. In hardship and shortage, Company 8 was established, a unit that carries the true meaning of humanity and exists with the real purpose of helping people. When initially established, Company 8 had only 2 people. Takisa wanted to recruit another acquaintance from school, someone who, although useless, was diligent and hardworking. That person was Maki. Yet Maki thought she was recruited because she was too talented. The very first case that Company 8 resolved left a deep impression. It was an infernal wearing white clothes, and after they helped that victim rest in peace, a mysterious company quickly appeared to clean up the entire scene. What's worth mentioning is that the incident took place in Company 7's territory, where Benimaru was the commander. Benimaru was famous for extremely disliking being bothered. Especially the restrictive rules coming from the emperor made him even more annoyed. But people really liked him. An old lady gave him a bag of steamed buns, and he brought them home for the children to eat deliciously. His attitude toward Company 8 was also not very friendly, even publicly claiming that all stories about the evangelist were just meaningless fabrications. Benimaru's carefree attitude and overly domineering behavior made Shinra unable to control himself. He immediately issued a challenge, not wanting to hear more of that contempt. Just as the atmosphere became tense, an urgent notification about another combustion case rang out. Benimaru immediately jumped in to handle it, but his method left everyone astounded. First, he twirled a staff, then threw it straight away, that power destroying a series of houses along the road. Then, he used another staff as a flying tool, quickly approaching the area with victims. With both strange and fierce movements, Benimaru continuously threw many other staffs, smashing countless surrounding structures. When nearing the victim, he coldly affirmed that the elderly man could no longer cause destruction, then immediately broke his core. The surprise was that the victim's face at death didn't carry pain, but instead, a hint of peacefulness as if relieved from a burden. The old lady explained that they could rebuild any number of houses, and they wanted the victim to be buried with solemn rituals. Benimaru's way of helping victims rest was strange, somewhat violent and difficult to understand, yet containing humanity from another perspective. Because of this, all the citizens in this district hold a special respect for him, and they even think that if they could die, they would want to die under Benimaru's hands. The funeral was then organized on a scale like a grand festival, not only to send off the departed to their final resting place, but also as spiritual consolation for those still living. The architecture, houses, and structures that were destroyed in the battle were quickly rebuilt, and arranging temporary accommodation for citizens who lost their homes also became a familiar task that Company 7 always undertook. Shinra and everyone else marveled at the strange way Company 7 worked. It was precisely that enthusiasm and sense of responsibility that made Shinra want to lend a hand, and not just him, but also other members of Company 8 unanimously participated enthusiastically. However, news about this cooperation soon reached the ears of the white-robed assassins. They realized that Company 8 always appeared blocking their way, and guessed that Company 8 was investigating them. To avenge their previous defeat, their evangelist issued a cruel order: to erase all fire soldiers, to destroy everything by bringing along a swarm of insects and machinery. Benimaru was treating Conro's wounds when suddenly Shinra proactively came to request an exchange. It seems the children here really value him, so Conro thought he was a good person. Company 8 is full of warmth, very different from other companies. Benimaru gradually accepts cooperation with Company 8, so Benimaru decided to cooperate. Conro was originally a third generation, had reached the combustion limit, but due to responsibility to the mission, still struggled to use his power, causing his body to gradually turn into charcoal. After several collaborations and conversations, members of Companies 7 and 8 became gradually closer. The next night, while wandering around, Benimaru happened to eavesdrop on a conversation between Obai and Tekisa, in which ambiguous words about a conspiracy to turn others into infernals rang out. Anger immediately exploded. He couldn't hold back and erupted with tremendous power, causing the other two to panic and run away as if not knowing what happened. But Benimaru isn't the type to let things go. He immediately pursued, and when catching up, violently attacked, questioning them about turning the old man into an infernal, accusing them of playing dumb to hide the conspiracy to disrupt the town, and saying that his own ears had heard clearly, so there was no way to deny it. Shinra fortunately arrived in time, delivering a powerful kick to break Benimaru's attack, hoping he could calm down. But how could Benimaru remain calm in the face of a truth that made him feel so betrayed? Despite trusting Company 8 very much, in Benimaru's eyes, the event before him proved that trust was perhaps just a mistake, and that was something he could never accept. He shouted in rage for those bastards to come at him, that he would annihilate them all, And so the white-robed assassin's division tactic had succeeded. Takisa was the first force to draw his gun to cope, while Obai ran off to prepare for the next steps. Maki, with her fire-extinguishing ability, risked herself to block Benimaru, but his flame control ability was absolutely no less than hers, forcing Maki to rush in with martial arts, supported by Shinra, but soon after, both were knocked away with just one strike. The bullets that Takisa fired at that moment were also controlled by Benimaru back towards them, revealing the superior power of someone carrying within him both second and third generation abilities. In that situation, Takisa had no choice but to charge forward with Tamaki, but each supporting shot was still easily blocked, and Benimaru's martial arts quickly defeated Tamaki, turning Arthur into a punching bag. After successfully defending, Benimaru immediately counterattacked. An extremely powerful slash tore through the still air, striking directly at Takisa and Arthur, leaving them almost no time to defend. He thought Company 8 only had that much, demanding they not rely on numbers to bully the weak. He wanted their members to stand down and have a decisive battle with him between leaders. In that moment, Obai, who usually only diligently worked out outside of work, training endlessly like an iron bull, stepped forward. That powerful body charged forward like a steel wall, blocking all the fireballs that Benimaru launched, surprising the other. Benimaru wondered why Obai didn't extinguish the fire, asking if he was afraid or not, and Obai replied that he was very afraid, that the flames were extremely hot, but he still had to rush in because he wasn't allowed to back down. In astonishment, Benimaru delivered a powerful blow hitting Obai's iron mask, but he still didn't retreat, instead continuing to advance step by step, pushing back the opponent. Benimaru questioned that if he understood flames well, why harm that old man, while Obai calmly said he had misunderstood. However, Benimaru didn't accept it, quickly using his special move to attack relentlessly. After an explosion that shook the entire area, Obai still stood safely, affirming that no one was allowed to use strength to bully the weak. The fire-extinguishing grenades he had prepared long ago were thrown continuously, creating smoky fires limiting visibility, while he himself still charged like a war machine. Despite being knocked down many times, even seemingly about to be finished, Obai still stubbornly counterattacked, even using his own iron head to bang back against the opponent. He thought that finally the opponent had to take a hit, while Benimaru was shocked, asking if Obai didn't know fear, and Obai replied that he couldn't back down because he was fulfilling the responsibility of a company captain. Those words astonished the entire Company 8, as for the first time they realized the true strength of a commander without special abilities. However, Takisa clearly understood that the battle before them was completely meaningless, so he spoke up saying it was time to stop. Hearing the news, Conro appeared, praising Obai highly, but it was precisely Obai's excellence that made it harder for Benimaru to accept, making him even more determined to eliminate him. In his anger, Benimaru prepared to use his final move, but Conro stepped up to stop him, calling for his young master to calm down. Benimaru shouted that he had been mistaken, that he couldn't believe it, and resolutely decided to take action. But surprisingly, Conro accepted to use his own power to block him, begging him to listen to Company 8's explanation. Seeing the charcoal marks spreading on his trusted subordinate's body, Benimaru gradually cooled down, deciding to restrain his power. The truth was gradually told. At that time, Obai and Takisa were just going to buy groceries, and the entire conspiracy was set up by assassins, tricking Shinra to call Benimaru to the alley to witness a false play. Curious, Benimaru continued to ask the citizens, discovering that they all respected Conro's face by hiding many things. And then, the old story was recalled, about a time when both weren't yet fire soldiers but still carried within them abilities. During a large-scale combustion incident, both were exhausted, and at that moment, a real demon appeared, something terrible unlike normal infernals, forcing Conro to push Benimaru out so he could fight alone, even though he had reached his combustion limit. The next morning when he woke up, Benimaru realized that Conro had fallen into a state where his body began to deform. He was extremely distressed because he himself hadn't been able to fight beside him. At this point, Conro's health was also depleted, and the biggest question was who would stand up to bear the responsibility of protecting this entire district. The answer being none other than himself, Benimaru, whom everyone relied on. Also on that very day, the fire force only appeared after everything was over. They used the excuse that the captain of Company 4 wanted to represent the Empire in recruiting to turn Benimaru's company into part of Company 7. The deep reason was that the Empire feared their rare power would cause a rebellion after the recent tragedy, and thus the fact that Company 7 doesn't obey the Emperor's orders is understandable, as both sides are just using each other for their own purposes. One side wants to pacify, the other wants to hold real power to act more favorably. At this time, when Benimaru walked to the trading area, he witnessed many citizens arguing, even scuffling. After trying to intervene and then inquiring, he discovered that all the people there were in a situation similar to his own. The appearance of numerous cases of mistaken identity in just one night was truly unacceptable. Even two people who were close friends fell into dispute, each suspecting the other wasn't the real person but an imposter. Although the two girls arguing looked quite cute, this chaos had made the scene extremely messy. Surprisingly, at that moment, Arthur jumped into the middle of the conflict, delivering a knee straight to Hika's face, then beating her cruelly until she fainted. This brutal, inhumane action immediately angered the other members of Company 8, who prepared to punish him. But Arthur claimed that the person he had just attacked was just a small old man disguised as Hika. Immediately after, that guy revealed his true form, a sight that shocked Conro unbelievably. This face transformation turned out to be a tactic of a white-robed assassin, and according to him, this was just the beginning of the plan to turn this place into a sea of flames once again. Benimaru, at that moment, completely didn't understand what was happening. In his mind, he briefly thought maybe those fox spirits that only exist in legends had truly appeared. Suddenly, combustion flames simultaneously erupted everywhere, causing him extreme panic. The white-robed assassins immediately took advantage of this chaos to launch an attack on Company 8. Although they hurriedly tried to rescue civilians and evacuate the injured, time was running out. The opponent struck too suddenly and possessed power far beyond expectation. To the extent that even Maki's fire extinguishing ability couldn't suppress it, she could only make the flames harmless. Fortunately, at that moment, Shinra quickly volunteered to rush into battle. However, before he could determine the enemy's position, he was hit by a sudden attack. The enemies moved in completely unpredictable trajectories, fully exploiting the chaos, making Shinra confused and unable to find direction. Luckily, Arthur coordinated with Shinra. Thanks to the fact that the opponents only focused on misdirecting one person, he could signal Arthur to precisely locate the target. Although the imposter was captured and interrogated, he refused to reveal any information, even using firebugs to commit suicide to keep secrets. This crazy action made Conro understand for the first time the existence of artificial combustion. But unfortunately, that realization came too late because the chaotic scene had spread everywhere. Eliminating infernals was simple, but pacifying the citizens was an extremely difficult task. Even Benimaru felt powerless. At that moment, Shinra suddenly fell into an ambush. He fell down, thinking this time he would meet his ancestors. Luckily, he wasn't harmed, and after discovering traces of an assassin, he immediately gave chase, but fell right into the ambush circle of another person. This one possessed extremely formidable close combat abilities. He quickly controlled Shinra, and at that same moment, the first assassin drew his bow to shoot an extremely fast arrow. Fortunately, Arthur rushed in just in time to block the blow. Shinra also counterattacked decisively, and from here, a direct 2-on-2 battle truly began. The knife wielder charged straight in to attack, his coat flying to provide cover for the archer to have a chance to shoot arrows unexpectedly. However, that treacherous arrow was blocked by Arthur. Compared to the smooth coordination of the opponents, the Shinra and Arthur pair initially seemed a bit confused, quickly being pushed back. The archer continuously shot arrows to suppress from a distance, while the knife wielder directly confronted Shinra. The battle turned into a genuine fierce exchange. The dangerous explosive arrows and the unbelievably fast knife speed had put both at a disadvantage. However, just as the knife wielder prepared to deliver the finishing blow, their timely coordination reversed the situation, forcing both sides to seriously collaborate to create tactics. They decided to separate the enemies. Shinra, with his fast speed, took on the archer to address the visibility issue, while Arthur would directly confront the knife wielder. After the clear strategy was applied, the situation immediately changed. Shinra and Arthur were not inferior in strength. They quickly approached the archer, taking advantage of the knife wielder's weakness to switch targets. The first hit landed directly on the archer. Shinra immediately switched to supporting Arthur and attacking the knife wielder, forcing the archer to risk himself to return and save his teammate. Their defeat gradually became apparent. In a desperate situation, the knife wielder asked his comrade to retreat. then took out something called a devil bug and swallowed it frantically. Meanwhile, in another development, Conroe was trying hard to find Benimaru's whereabouts. Benimaru at this time was also fighting an infernal. He looked in a bad mood, and it seemed this battle was also quite difficult.